Okay, hello everybody. We are in the south of Spain. I'm with two very good friends of mine who I've met on a teacher training course. I'm learning to become a teacher of science to secondary school kids, which is why I haven't released many films recently. And I'm on holiday just to relax because it's a very difficult course. The reason I'm doing it is because I want to put a little bit more science into my investigating of these sites, because we shouldn't ignore science. Even though we're talking about energies and ley lines and all these kind of things, it's still important to remember that we need evidence and we need to think scientifically. So blah, 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 blah. Basically, we're at this most amazing dolmen. This is called the Dolmen Dominga. We're not far from Malaga and it's absolutely fantastic. It's massive.
How massive?
How massive? Massive, massive. I mean, this goes back about 20 meters. There's a really interesting fact that 19 meters from this entrance here, there is a well, and that is 19 meters deep. You can tell they've planned out the exact design of this.
There is no explanation, right? They don't know why.
They don't know why, when, how. We'll have a look. It's very, very circular. Looks like it's been done by a massive
They don't know if they did
drill.
first the well or the dolmen, right?
They don't know. They don't know. There's lots of, as always with these sites, there's like, we think this, but they don't really know anything, to be honest. So
it might be a lot older than they say as well. Who knows?
I think so. So you can see like this capstone up here is massive. This is going to be like 60, 70 tons, I would think. In terms of how deep it is, it's like 1.5 meters. It goes back all the way to here. So it's a huge capstone, but this isn't the biggest one. There are 5 in total. And the one at the end is absolutely gigantic. We'll show you as well.
Can you remind us the weight of it?
180 tons, I think the biggest capstone is. That's about 2 and a bit Boeing 747s. That's massive. Like, and they were supposed to have dragged these stones on logs with ropes, which I don't know how they would have done that. Also, if we have a quick look around here, we're in a hilly area. It's quite hilly, so how they would have dragged these stones uphill, almost impossible. This is supposed to be a face of a woman looking up at the sky. We can see from inside that it's actually pointing directly towards it. There's all sorts of myths and stories attached to this hill, and it's very cool looking indeed. You can see that the stones on the side are kind of yellow and they're not being eroded very much, whereas the ones on top, they've got a kind of a black color to them and they are really porous. You can see holes in there where they're being eroded basically. I'm not sure if water is dripping through the stones, God knows, but you can definitely see that the ones on top are made from a different stone and they are eroding much quicker than the ones on the side. There are pillars in the middle holding up these massive capstones. There's 3 of them. This one has what is probably a more modern day little cutting into the stone. There's like, probably they were putting candles in there and things and a few hundred years ago or something. But there are also cut marks. We've seen cut marks in loads of these sites. You can see one on here, and there are probably about 20 dotted around on all of these stones. This is the largest capstone. Absolutely humongous thing. It's got to be about 10 meters wide, maybe even a little bit more, and like 11 or 12 long. And this one has to be the largest. It's probably 180 tons, which again, they were supposed to have dragged on logs and ropes and pulled up this hill, which doesn't sound feasible to me. Here is the well. Looks really well cut. I don't know how they would have done that again. I mean, it's possible that they did do this in Neolithic times without machinery, but it looks pretty good cut, to be fair. To me, it looks like technology has done that. How are they supposed to have done that with like hammer and chisel and all that kind of stuff? You know, I ask questions at these sites, like, how did they do this? And how would they have done that, like realistically with hammer and chisel? I do not know. But I guess it's possible.
How thick, Mick, are these stones on the wall?
These, you can see through this one, which is quite interesting, because you can see through to the other side, and there's just like a little cavity there, but this one could be 2 meters thick, but I basically can't see the end of this one. And it goes back all the way to the end of this, like a little hole in there, which is probably about 2 meters long, and I can't see the end of it. So it's at least 2 meters thick, this one. So again, this is going to be 80, 90, maybe even more, like in terms of tonnage. It's a massive, massive, massive things. And again, look, why did they build this?
Phenomenal.
Is this just a tomb?
It's not recent.
I doubt it.
Rocks will have marks on them as well. I acknowledge that naturally they'll gather marks. There are some interesting marks on these rocks though.
Yeah, well, these
seems to
are
be
all-
deep ones.
This
Yeah.
is all erosion, but then there's ones like, if we look on this stone over here, this one's not natural. No chance.
No.
You know, there are these little...
To bore those holes out would take some effort,
Yeah,
some skill,
And
right?
again, why? I mean, you've got people like, there's a guy called, I forget his name, he's got a website called Layman, and he's done all sorts of measuring of ley line energies and how they transmit between stones. And he says that these cut marks were some way of basically manipulating the direction that the energy is shot off from these stones.
Sure, and they're different to the candle holder holes we saw around the other side.
Yeah, totally. There's only one, isn't there? But yeah, that one's much more like modern tool has done it or something. Really cool place. I love it. Okey-dokey. Right, so this one is the one we've just been inside, Dolmen Dominga. And then right here, which is probably, well, not even 50 meters, 30, 40 meters, is Dolmen Tuviera. Now this one is very, very different in terms of its, what we can see. There's basically just a corridor that you can obviously see there going off into the dolmen. And there's probably about a 10-meter long passageway. But there's a few interesting points that I'd like to make. Right, so different types of building styles, let's put it that way. So I've talked in videos before how about there's probably been building work done over different ages over the years, and this for me highlights that, or suggests that for sure, because you've got the megalithic blocks here, and then you've got all these like more modern looking brickwork done. So again, I've seen that in loads of these dolmen, but here it's very apparent. I'm not sure when this was supposed to have been built. I mean, this wall here has got this metal door in it, so this is probably very new anyway. But so these are the older stones that we want to be looking at. You can see again megaliths. These ones aren't that big. This is probably 5 tons or something. These ones just going on into the dolmen. This little doorway that's cut out here is typical of some of the sites around the Mediterranean. It's like sort of, you see these in Malta, for example. There's megaliths with big doors. Ah, no, pasa por favor. No, it's there. Yeah, so you get these kind of like doorway windows cut into the temples in Malta, and I've seen it in various other places, Turkey, for example, but they were really small doors. And then as we walk in, hola.
Tenéis los tickets, ¿verdad?
Ticket?
¿Tickets?
No tenemos. Ah, yes.
Hoy tienen que ser.
Okay. But again, really good example of how they used to cut these stones. So they just cut a window in this massive one. Again, do you do that with hammer and chisel, or did they have some kind of technology?
So they
You
are
can also
supposed
see-
to have done that because it's perfect.
It's a pretty good cut, isn't it?
Yeah, it
And
is.
you know, there's
With today's tools, you would struggle to do
Yeah,
that,
you
you know,
would.
as a member of today's
How are
world.
they supposed to have
Yeah.
done this?
you'd need to have specialised equipment to do that. And they do it.
Specialised skill sets, specialised tools, knowledge of how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you look at things like, this is one example of this kind of thing. Like you've got other examples around the world,
Around
like in
the world.
Peru, where they've got a stone that's 13-sided and
Yeah,
fits
that makes sense.
perfectly. You can't get paper through them in Egypt as well. And then you've got the faces on the pharaohs in Egypt that are perfectly symmetrical, and they look like they've been kind of cut with a laser or something. Christopher Dunn has done some brilliant work. And got videos online and everything, so you can have a look at that. But it's highly impressive. As we're walking in, you can probably see how a lot of the stones look like they've been cut. They look pretty flat, aren't they? You know, this isn't the natural shape of a boulder. This looks like it's been shaped specifically to be this corridor. And again, the capstones. This is completely covered over, so they don't know how thick these are. And there's possibly, because the mound is so big, there's possibly other holes or cavities behind here as well. So, but massive and really beautiful when you see the countryside outside. Gracias.
Gracias.
Cup marks.
Oh yes.
Cup marks
Okay,
in
we
there.
have that. Yeah.
And then you can see the restoration that they do. They always have to repair these things. They find them in piles sometimes and get the smaller brickwork in here and some repair jobs, some cement. But cool, huh?
Fantastic. Recording now.
All right, cool. So we've basically started driving back to Alicante, and about halfway, there's this place called the Gorham Megalismo Interpretation Centre. It's basically like a little museum, but it was closed. But the reason they're here is because there's about 240 dolmen in this area. I'm not sure exactly how far that goes. Like, I'm thinking it's like within like 5-kilometre square area or something like that, but there's basically 240 here. This is probably one of the better that are, it's still standing. One that we saw just down there was just basically a few remnants of a dolmen, which actually doesn't look like one. But it just makes the point. We saw those in Dominga and Tuviera where there was just 3 really close together, but sometimes they just come in like clusters, like hundreds, as I said. So there's a fire inside because in the last site in Dominga, the guide told us that the black and the rock in the roof there was because of fires, but we doubted that because it's too consistent, the colour and the shade. And if you see in there, they have had a fire in there, and you can see like black smoke going up one part. You can see the shape of where the flame would have been, and it's much more obvious. So from what they said in that last, in Dominga, basically, I'm not sure that's true. It's really cool, but we're not going to look at that many of them. 2 out of 240. But there, nice place. Huh?
We'll save the rest for another day.
Yeah, we'll come back.
Lovely.
Sweet.